So, was it last year or the year before the eclipse? 2 years ago, a couple years ago. A couple years ago, we went to the Path of Totality. We went up to Oregon to the Path of Totality of the eclipse. It was just, I'm going to tell you, the most amazing thing I have ever seen with my own eyes. Like just the natural, incredible beauty of it. It was, as my grandson would say, fantastic. But that's not why I bring it up today. Today I'm bringing it up because of this little thing that happened when we went. We went with Christine's aunt and uncle. They're just a couple years older than Christine, yet we still insist on calling them Uncle Kevin and Aunt Gina. And we went with them, anyway, we went with them to the eclipse in our RV. And at one point, just as we had entered Oregon, Christine and I stopped. Well, we all stopped, but Christine and I went into Walmart to load the RV up with groceries. And we made this most amazing discovery in that Walmart. There was this big bin with stuffed animal heads. Not like taxidermy type stuffed animal heads. That would be creepy, but just stuffed animals. But they were heads that you could put over your head. And so we grabbed the cat head, because who wouldn't, right? And we thought this would come in handy this trip, and it did. We found the place that we were going to watch the eclipse. It was this field filled with people, like hundreds of people. And Christine knew. She just felt it in her being. This is the time. And she donned the cat head. And thus was the new birth of Eclipse Cat. And she wore that. She wore that the entire day of the eclipse. Strangers were taking pictures with her. They we didn't name her Eclipse Cat. They named her Eclipse Cat. She was walking down the road and someone slammed on their brakes and goes, "Oh my gosh, Eclipse Cat!" And you'd think, okay, one person. No, everybody called her Eclipse Cat. They're like, "Eclipse Cat, can we take a picture of you?" "Sure." "Can we take a picture with you?" "Sure." A newspaper reporter came up and interviewed us, and Eclipse Cat made some news, I don't know, some news article in Portland. So Eclipse Cat became famous for a day.
And then had surgery.
Yeah, Eclipse Cat showed up again at Sutter Roseville coincidentally after my knee replacement, being wheeled out in a wheelchair. But that's just a whole different thing. But as much as she became a new character, at least for those couple of days, and when Eclipse Cat came to life, she never really transformed into a cat. She just put a cat head on. Now that seems obvious, right? But I was thinking about Eclipse Cat this morning, because my brain, you just don't even want to know. But I was thinking about transformation. And I was thinking, sometimes we say we want to be transformed, but we just put a cat head on and think we're done. And then we walk away and we can easily take it off. We never really become what we say we want to be because, well, let's just face it, that takes work. I'm not saying Christine should have done the work to be a cat. I'm very glad she didn't. But I'm talking in the sense of our spiritual beings. I think sometimes we think we want transformation. We put our little hats on. We do the dance of Sunday morning. And then as we walk out the door, we take our hats back off and nothing has changed. We are a church believes to its core. Our core value is transformation. My question is, do we live it out? Just like all the other core values that we've talked about, spiritual transformation takes intention. It doesn't just happen. Just because you go to church doesn't mean you're going to be transformed. It takes a desire and intention to live into that new creation that we read about, that God says, I will make you a new creation. It takes absolute intention and desire to do that. I, as your pastor, promise that I will set the table as much as possible. The board members said, we're going to make sure that table is strong and steady and there's chairs at it. But you have to eat. Paul talks about believers that just drink milk all the time and think that they're growing up big and strong, but never ever eat a full meal. It takes intention to be transformed spiritually. It's a choice that you make. Or you can choose to allow the presence of God and the intention of this church to be a catalyst to move you forward. You could say, I'm coming here and this is part of it. Because let's just face it, once a week, God didn't say, be clear on this, God didn't say, I want to make these really strong spiritual beings. How can I do that? What formula will work? I know, an hour on Sunday morning. We're done. No, that's not how transformation works. This is just part of it. This is a part of the community. We talked about community inclusion. This is where we do justice. This is where we start to be transformed. But transformation happens every day of the week when we choose to seek God's will. When we read the word and scripture of God, when we say, God, what are you telling me today? When we look at the people on the streets that need help, or when we look at the systems of injustice that need to be broken, all of that is where spiritual transformation takes place. This is just a sliver of it. You can let this church be a catalyst, but it can't be the whole thing. And it can propel you into renewal, into transformation, but it's always the choice that you make to live into it. It's an ongoing process. Because once you're transformed this much, guess what? There's more transformation to be done. And once you reach that, guess what? There's more. It's never an end. It's not an on-off. This is not a binary thing. It's an ongoing process of maturity and newness, new creation. And here's why some people, because you think, well, this is an obvious choice. Of course I want to be transformed, let's do it. But here's why some people don't do it. It's difficult. It's not easy. It can be painful to enter transformation. Think about the analogy that both Jeremiah and Isaiah use. A potter and clay. And that's a beautiful illustration that they use, but just think about it. That takes pressing, molding, spinning, disorienting, dizzy, ouch, painful. And when it doesn't work out quite right, the potter's just going to grab some more water and bunch it all up into a completely unrecognizable ball and begin again. It's painful. But there's purpose to it. There's a reason for our transformation. Because we become beautiful, we become valuable, we become useful, we become the hands and feet of God as we are transformed. But it requires you, I'm warning you, to look in the mirror and take a deep, good look. I don't know about you, but sometimes I avoid mirrors. Especially spiritual ones. Boy, I like the memory that tells me I'm right where I need to be. But you read in James, sometimes it's like walking away from a mirror and forgetting completely what you look like. I think sometimes we live on those memories and we look in the mirror and go, oh, I forgot to do my... This week I came to the church LaDon and Liz were doing a ton of work here, and I don't remember why I came. I came to do something, did something. Oh, I was with Paul. We were making chili for it's all coming clear now. Anyway, like more than half the day was over, and I had been to the store. I was with Paul. We were making chili for the homeless. I came here. I saw LaDon and I saw Liz. All this stuff had happened. I got back home. I looked in the mirror. I had not done my hair that whole day. It just looked like a big poof. I was living on the memory of what I know I look like when I take care of myself, and it wasn't realistic at all. I think we do that sometimes. We think we're right where we need to be, and we forget to look and see what God is directing us to do and be, and who God is forming us into. It can be dizzying, disorienting, painful, but it can be beautiful. It is what we are created to be, and there's something about when you live into what you are created to be. It's like when my hairdresser does my hair. I walk away going, whoa, I didn't even know that was possible. That's what it can be. It might mean giving up your identity. It might mean giving up who you are comfortable being. My grandma and grandpa, long ago in the church that my dad pastored, started a group called the Walking Wounded. There was people who had experienced abuse or hurt or harm, divorce, all those things in their life. And they got together because that source of wounding in their life. But what we realized very quickly was they loved that identity. They loved the wounded identity. It never became the walking healed. It was just the walking wounded. And they got together to talk about their owies, but never about what to do about them. Sometimes you have to give your identity up, and sometimes your identity doesn't sound so good, but you will be surprised how deep and tight you are holding on to it. No, that's my hurt. I'm not letting it go. No, that's my identity. I don't want that changed. Think about Peter and James and John. Why, they had an identity. They were fishermen. They were a man's man. They had calluses and sun, tan, callous. And Jesus came and said, I got you something different I want you to do. And totally changed their identity from fishermen to fishers of men, right? To the point where when Jesus was crucified, what happened? They went back to fish, and they just it wasn't right anymore. It was like everything about them had changed. They had no meaning in what they used to only have meaning in. Because God had changed their name. God had changed who they were and what they were doing. And it's important to be transformed, because I do not believe we can transform the world around us until we allow ourselves transformation, power, and healing. In Philippians 3, Paul says, letting go of what was behind me, I press on to the mark of the high calling. I have to let go before I reach forward. That's where transformation begins. I believe our church is called to let go and reach forward. Continuously let go and reach forward. Be transformed as a whole. Be transformed individually. Always seeking what God is looking to do next. To where when we walk out this door, there is no cat head to take off. It is who we are. Because we've been changed. It's not a costume. It's our identity being forged in the power of the Holy Spirit and the grace of God. I want to end on that thought of letting go of what is behind and reaching forward, pressing on to the mark of the high calling. I'm going to read a poem called Fear of Transformation by Dannon Perry. Sometimes I feel that my life is a series of trapeze swings. Either I'm hanging on to a trapeze bar, swinging along, or for a few moments in life, I'm hurtling across space in between trapeze bars. Most of the time I spend my life hanging on for dear life to the trapeze bar of the moment. It carries me along at a certain steady rate of swing, and I have the feeling that I'm in control of my life. I know most of the right questions and even some of the answers. But every once in a while, as I'm merrily, or even not so merrily, swinging along, I look out ahead of me into the distance, and what do I see? Another trapeze bar swinging toward me. It's empty, and I know, in that place in me that knows, that this new trapeze bar has my name on it. It's my next step, my growth, my aliveness coming to get me. In my heart of hearts, I know that for me to grow, I must release my grip on the present, well-known bar and move to the new one. Each time it happens to me, I hope, no, I pray, that I won't have to let go of my old bar completely before I grab the new one. But in my knowing place, I know that I must totally release my grasp on the old bar. And for some moment in time, I must hurtle across space before I can grab onto the new bar. Each time I am filled with terror. It doesn't matter that in all my previous hurdles across the void of unknowing, I have always made it. I am each time afraid that I will miss, that I will be crushed on the unseen rocks in the bottomless chasm between bars. I do it anyway. Perhaps this is the essence of what the mystics call the faith experience. No guarantees, no net, no insurance policy. But you do it anyway, because somehow to keep hanging on to that old bar is no longer on the list of alternatives. So for an eternity that can last a microsecond or 1,000 lifetimes, I soar across the dark void of the past is gone, the future is not yet here. It's called transition. I have come to believe that transition is the only place that real change occurs. I mean real change, not the pseudo change that only lasts until the next time my old buttons get punched. I have noticed that in our culture, the transition zone is looked upon as a no thing, a no place between places. Sure, the old trapeze bar was real, and that new one coming toward me, I hope that's real too. But the void in between, is that just a scary, confusing, disorienting nowhere that must be gotten through as fast, as unconditionally as possible? No. What a wasted opportunity that would be. I have a sneaking suspicion that the transition zone is the only real thing, and that the bars are the illusions that we dream up to avoid the void where the real change, the real growth occurs for us. Whether or not my hunch is true, it remains the transition zones of our life are incredibly rich places. They should be honored, even savored. Yes, with all the pain and fear and feelings of being out of control that can, but not necessarily accompany transitions, they are still the most alive, most growth-filled, passionate, expansive moments of our lives. We cannot discover new oceans until we have the courage to lose sight of the shore.